Roster moves, yeah, we built from the grind. Draft day gems and the best all around. Scalp on the tape, breaking it clear. From first round locks to the late round tier. Cap space tight, left the visions wide. Future of the league, we along for the ride. Colin and Andrew on the grind non-stop. With props to each draft, we stay on top.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Draft Fellows podcast. My name is Andrew Mertig. We have had a bit of a layoff, actually probably a lot of the NFL season, but I'm going to be flying solo for a little bit. Hope you don't mind. Kyle will probably be joining us at some point throughout the offseason, but really excited to be back for another NFL draft cycle. Make sure you're following the Draft Fellows channel on YouTube. We will be releasing this on audio, but specifically for today's mock draft, you're going to be able to see all of the picks on the YouTube version. So go ahead and check that out. I have been taking a really deep dive into this year's prospects, trying to get back on track for where I typically would be from a scouting perspective, and finally felt comfortable this week jumping on and talking about a full first round mock draft. So I will be presenting that to you. This is mock draft 1.0. At this point, I'm just projecting players about where I think they're gonna land. Obviously, a lot of variables. Some picks are going to be moving around. We'll see some players jumping out of the draft. We'll see some unexpected risers. We'll see some players moving throughout, as we always do. But I think this gives us a really good place to start the conversation and project where some players might be when it comes to April. And then in addition, start to talk a little bit about maybe some team needs and those sorts of things. So without further ado, we jump into the beginning of the draft, and to nobody's surprise, have Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback from Indiana, going first overall to the Raiders. Some whispers out this week that maybe that pick could be on the move. Maybe the Ravens are interested. Maybe some other teams would like to slide up. Maybe the Raiders aren't ready for a quarterback, but as of today, I would go with Mendoza to the Raiders. Pretty much the no-duh pick. Would be surprised if it's anybody else at 1 overall when we get to April, team depending. New York Jets at 2. We're going to go with Arvell Reese. I know he's listed as a linebacker. He's not Micah Parsons, but you're going to hear some of those comparisons because he is such a good pass rusher in addition to being an off-ball linebacker. I would leave it up to Aaron Glenn and staff to try to figure out where they want to best play him, but I think he can be a nice move piece. If he does end up like Parsons, maybe playing a little off-ball early and then eventually projecting into one of those speedy, twitchy, super dangerous edge rushers. At number 3, the Arizona Cardinals, we're going to go with Utah tackle Spencer Fano. The Cards definitely need a lot of offensive line help. I think Fano is somebody who is going to leap up boards if he's not there already. I have seen this projection a few times, but I think he's exactly the kind of player that you're going to see get drafted really high. When it does come to April, we have Reuben Bain Jr. going to the Titans at 4, just a incredibly violent edge rusher, maybe a little bit more traditional than Arvell Reese. I think you could probably flip these two. Bain, I have some questions about arm length. We'll see when we get to the measurement portion of the offseason. But other than that, just a really, really good player. I think the Titans would love to help him get on that defensive line with Jeffrey Simmons and create some havoc. The Giants at 5 definitely need some offensive line help. Francis Mauigoa, I'm going to need to learn how to pronounce that last name because he is going to be called very early in April. The tackle out of Miami. We've got Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver from Arizona State, going to the Cleveland Browns. They need a lot of offensive help. We're going to see them flash again when I go forward in this mock draft. To another offensive player. Washington at 7 is going to go with Texas Tech edge David Bailey, and the Saints at 8, defensive lineman Peter Woods. Really both teams addressing some defensive needs that they have with some highly talented players going there. At 9, maybe the flashiest pick you'll see here, the Kansas City Chiefs going with running back Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. He's a special back. I do think the Chiefs may be involved in free agency with, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker. We'll see. But if they don't want to invest the money there, I know 9 is rich for a running back, but Jeremiah Love is one of those difference makers. They did go first round running back with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, in my opinion, and I said this that draft night. They should have taken Jonathan Taylor. I think Jeremiah Love gives them a chance to kind of call that back and get a dominating running back while Pat Mahomes is recovering from that knee injury. At 10, the Cincinnati Bengals are going with Ohio State safety Caleb Downs. When I flash back to when the Bengals defense was actually really good, um, it came through really great safety play. And Downs is a special safety. I think he's a value at pick 10. I think positional, quote unquote positional value will drag him down in the draft, but he's easily one of the best players available. We have a run of Ohio State players. At 11, we're going to go wide receiver Carnell Tate. I think Tyreek Hill's time is done in Miami. I think you want to get somebody opposite Jalen Waddle. Carnell Tate is a really, really talented player. We'll see how these wide receivers shake out when we actually get into the draft cycle. But he's the second off the board here. I think you could probably order 4 or 5 different receivers, 1 through 5 in any order, and you'd have a hard time disagreeing at this point. The Cowboys at 12, linebacker Sonny Styles. I again harken back to when the Cowboys defense was really good. They did it through some great linebacker play. Again, I think Styles slides a little bit here to 12, even though he's a very, very talented player. I think he gives the Cowboys a really versatile player on that second level. The Rams at 13 with that pick that they acquired in the Falcons trade in the 2025 draft are going to grab cornerback Mansour Delaney. I I loved him. I thought before he transferred to LSU, he was one of the best corners in the country. I thought he didn't do anything this year to dissuade me of that. I like him as CB1. We'll see how that shakes out. Cornerback's another position where I think you could put a few different names at the top of the board and not be surprised. But you get a long rangey athletic corner. The Rams defense is going to love that. Then the Ravens at 14, we're going to go with defensive lineman Caleb Banks out of Florida. And then the Jets at 16, skipping down a pick, are going to go with Mekhi Lemon, the wide receiver out of USC. So they get a defensive player at 2. They're going to come back at 16 with that pick that they acquired from the Colts and get Mekhi Lemon, a really talented wide receiver. That receiver room definitely needs a jump in talent, and I think Lemon can be a really fantastic fit there. Then we get into the back half of the first round. Again, I'm not going to go through every single pick, but just highlight a few. Cassius Howell goes 17 to the Lions, the edge out of Texas A&M. They really need to do something opposite Aiden Hutchinson, so I think that's a great fit. The Vikings get cornerback Jermod McCoy. Again, somebody I think you could argue is CB1, really helping to provide some additional talent in the back end of that defense. Whether or not they're going to be transitioning away from Brian Flores as defensive coordinator, appears to be so, but I think they need another body in that corner room, and McCoy is really, really talented. The Cowboys get their second defensive player in a row. Of course, improving that defense can be really important with the pick they acquired from the Packers as part of the Micah Parsons deal, and they're going to go edge TJ Parker out of Clemson. This is a good edge class. This could shake out in multiple different ways, and so I think that's a fun pick. If I jump down to 23, the Eagles always just seem to have a really talented player fall in their laps. No different here. Tight end Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. Super talented tight end. I think he may slip this far. I think he is actually a better player than that, but again, positional value. And for the Eagles, taking a look at, is Dallas Goedert done in Philly? Even if he's not, they had Ertz and they drafted Goddard years ago. So I think they could have a transition plan in place with Sadiq, who is a really fun pass catcher. Somebody I think that Philly fans are going to end up liking a lot if he does land there. The Browns are going to go with tackle Caleb Lomu, sort of the other tackle from Utah, a really talented player in his own right with their second first round pick. The Bills at 26 go wide receiver Denzel Boston out of Washington. Of course, big need at wide receiver for them. I think this is a chance to sort of undo maybe some of the harm with Keon Coleman. I think Keon Coleman could bounce back a little bit, but maybe a similar body type, but a different style of player, maybe a little bit more athletic. I would expect the Bills to probably draft a receiver relatively high, and then in addition, go out and seek a player in a trade or free agency to help get Josh Allen some more weapons. At 27, the 49ers are going to go with Texas A&M wide receiver KC Concepcion, who I think is a really fun playmaker and would fit in really well with Pearsall and Juwan Jennings in that offense. At 29, we're going to get the second quarterback, and that is Alabama's Ty Simpson. I like him at this position, one, because you're going to get that fifth-year option, but you're also going to give him the benefit of being able to sit behind Matthew Stafford, hopefully for a couple of years. And I think Simpson needs that. He's really raw, but he's got a ton of upside. Not saying he's going to develop, but I also think there's going to be some really unfair Mac Jones comps throughout this cycle. I just think that he needs a couple years to sit and learn. And behind somebody like Matthew Stafford, I could see Simpson coming out and being really successful, a la what the Packers have done with their last two quarterbacks. Finally, at pick 32, we're going to go with the Seahawks. I think this is a steal. I just didn't want him to fall out of the first round, and that's cornerback Avion Terrell out of Clemson. Do the Seahawks need another corner? Probably not. Maybe a little bit of a luxury pick, but continue to build on that unbelievable defense. And, I think whether they're picking at 32 or not, they're going to have the opportunity to continue to build on what is a super talented roster. So that is mock draft 1.0 for me. It's not necessarily predictive. It's to get the conversation started, start to get familiar with some of these names, and really start to think about what teams may need in the upcoming draft. But I am Andrew Mertig. You can find me on Blue Sky. You can also check out our YouTube channel. I know a lot of things are not recent, but you can look back on some of the mock drafts and see where we did pretty well, and maybe some instances where we missed a couple picks, but really appreciate you joining me. Make sure you like and subscribe to the show. We'll be previewing a lot more of the 2026 NFL draft in the coming weeks. From the draft room to the gridiron, the draft fellows have got you covered. Until next time, stay tuned and stay in the game.
Yo, we break it down, strategy in the booth. Yeah, build a roster up, that's the ultimate truth. Mertig and fellows, we breaking the lines. Yo, draft day, also watch these players strive. Hey, discussing picks, we analyze every skill. NFL dreams, we got that thrill. From college to the pros, we scout them right. Tune in to Draft Fellows, we light up the night. Football fans.